Finding a place with IVAW, absolutely. Coming back, I would have said that I was in Iraq from February to September 2004, and what I realized while I was there that was the big realization for me was that occupying a country that needs, and imposing martial law on these people who need more than anything rule of law and that basic stability is futile. And that as much good as I was doing and my team was doing, and even us as a military were doing in our civil affairs efforts in this bigger picture, it was completely futile. And when I came back, I would have told you right away, we need to cut troop levels by at minimum 75% and restrict ourselves to, security or support for their security forces, logistical support, training support, maybe support for the political process. But clearly what we were trying to do in providing security for them and imposing martial law in the country was not the way to achieve our stated objectives. And I was against the war before the war. I just didn't think it was going to be worth it. But afterwards, I thought that at least we were cleaning up our mess. We were taking responsibility for it. We were trying to do
Pottery
good.
Barn
Right,
analogy.
you break it, you buy it. Yeah, exactly. And I thought, well, if we're trying to do some good, I want to be a part of that. And I went out of my way to volunteer, to go in civil affairs. And I had this grand vision of what we were going to be able to achieve, hearing that, what we do in civil affairs is going to be exactly what Bush says we're doing on TV. And,
rebuilding schools, rebuilding hospitals.
And we were doing that on a very small scale, on a local level. But clearly, that wasn't the priority. We were six-man teams attached to regiments or battalions. And in Fallujah, at least, we couldn't go anywhere without 6 Humvees with machine guns. So we couldn't do anything without begging these infantry commanders to tag along on their convoys to get out and do our missions. And we came up with a slogan because we found ourselves struggling to justify our existence to them. And it was, we care so that you don't have to. And it was funny, and it's funny to think about, but it's really messed up if you think how far up the chain that extends, and it goes all the way to Bush. We care so that he doesn't have to, so that he can go about his real objectives. We're a fig leaf for him. And that's what we did. We risked our lives to make him and his policies look good, and he still failed miserably. I feel like I would be negligent if I didn't share my experiences, if I didn't, use those to keep people from having to die, to continue to die for a lie. And I think, to me, that's a moral imperative, because with our voice as veterans, with our experiences, being able to share those, there's a certain power in that. And as has long been said, with power comes responsibility. But for me, when it's a matter of life or death for American citizens serving in Iraq, it becomes a moral imperative for me to speak out. And I don't think I could be living with myself if I wasn't doing everything I could to bring them home safe, alive, and as soon as possible. I got there in February of 2004. We'd been there nearly a year, and we still didn't have armor for our Humvees. We had to put up cardboard and sandbags to protect ourselves. We had to line the interior of our Humvees with sandbags. And it's these common experiences. Getting stop loss is something that tens of thousands of soldiers are experiencing today. The body armor issue has largely been taken care of, but there are still issues with the supply chain, and being extended and having to do 15 months when before it was expected to do 12. That's demoralizing, and that's something that almost everyone who goes to Iraq is experiencing. And we speak out as veterans out of our moral imperative, but you step into the ring politically, you're throwing blows, and that you're gonna catch a few, and that's definitely expected. We step into the ring knowing what's gonna happen, and unfortunately, a lot of the attacks against us have come from right-wing extremists, from people who are under the influence of the neoconservative movement in America. Recently, just for having achieved certain prominence for various actions as an anti-war and anti-racist activist, I have been called now an attack dog of the left wing. But if I've earned the title attack dog, in the political arena, I think that's quite an honor. I'm actually proud to be referred to as that. But it's really disparaging for me to be often accused of being a leftist. And just recently, David Horowitz came out and labeled a bunch of people that I work with as members of the Revolutionary Communist Party, having just presumed that because we're taking a stand against racism, we must be communists. So, to see this kind of this abuse of these various labels is really disheartening. The accusation of individuals and the slander that we've all experienced here, it's disgusting. But yeah, I'm a proud libertarian, and I really come from conservative principles of small government. And to see that just because I'm against this war, which is really an operation that gives us more government, that has us governing supposedly a sovereign nation on the other side of the world. Now I'm a leftist and a socialist and a communist and all these other terms that I mean, at least are principled political views. But if you look at, like, you know, the people who are proponents of this war, neoconservatives, the only proponents, or the only principles that they have behind what they're doing really is fascism. You know, the glorification of the state, the supreme destiny of America as an institution. And you know, we've all taken, we can all see historically the results of letting that fascism get away from us.
The important things to remember about the occupation of Iraq and the invasion of Iraq is that they're all driven by inherently corrupt motives, a corrupt foreign policy, driven by corporatism, and these, just like the Vietnam War, it's engineered not to be won, but to be sustained.